Hello, my name is Talia Coleman, and I would like to talk to you today about emotional intelligence. By the end of this presentation, you will have a better understanding of what emotional intelligence is and how to build the skills needed to develop this important quality. Essentially, emotional intelligence, or EQ, is a required skill for effective leadership. Have you ever had a manager or supervisor who didn't quite understand how to handle their own emotions or the emotions of others? You yourself may even be a supervisor or a manager and may be struggling with how to handle and deal with your own emotions and the emotions of others. Most people are familiar with how valuable your IQ is to the effectiveness of leadership, but not many people know what emotional intelligence is and how important it is to success in leadership. Emotional intelligence involves self-awareness, the ability to manage one's own emotions, and the ability to manage the emotions of others. So after learning what emotional intelligence is, you will clearly see why it is a necessary skill required for effective leadership. Now let's begin by understanding what emotional intelligence is and all that it involves. Believe it or not, emotional intelligence has been around for decades, dating back to 1985, where the first trace of emotional intelligence was discovered in a grad student's paper, according to the book Discovering Emotional Intelligence. This phenomenon was developed and has developed over time, and more people are becoming familiar with the terminology. But still, people have not fully understood what emotional intelligence is and the value that it holds. So let's define what emotional intelligence is. According to the Manager's Pocket Guide to Emotional Intelligence by Emily Sturrett, emotional intelligence is an array of personal management and social skills that allows one to succeed in the workplace and in life in general. Sturrett concludes that based on research, success in leadership and in life is centered on three components. Intelligence quotient, which is IQ, and that accounts for 25% of your personality and what you bring to the table to be successful. Technical competency, which accounts for 20% of what you bring to your success. And emotional intelligence, or EQ, which encompasses 55% of what it takes to be an effective leader and to succeed. Emotional intelligence begins with emotional self-awareness. It is important for leaders to know how to recognize and understand their own emotions and be able to interpret and acknowledge ones that they are familiar with and ones they're not familiar with. The best way to develop self-awareness is to learn what makes you happy, upset, stressed, annoyed, and the social environment in which you thrive the best. Leaders who are emotionally unaware are often seen as hot-tempered, unstable, unpredictable, and unfit for management. However, on the other hand, leaders who are articulate with their emotions are seen as understanding, approachable, and dependable. Self-awareness also involves being able to sense how others feel about you and use that information to guide you in your behavior and your decisions. After self-awareness comes management of one's own emotions. Emotional intelligence requires self-regulation. Leaders must learn to stay calm in difficult situations. They're expected to set a good example for the team, so when emotionally intense situations arise, leaders know how to take a deep breath, assess their own emotions, take into account all the information present, and then make the best decision. According to the book, Emotions of Managing, creating and nourishing positive relationships is essential to managerial work and will lead to effective leadership. Leaders are expected to know how to manage their own emotions because the success or failure of the team will be a direct reflection of it. Every leader is held accountable for how they manage their own actions and must learn how to balance rational and emotional factors on a daily basis. Because the success of leaders depends on their ability to demonstrate emotional intelligence, it is even more important that leaders learn how to manage the emotions of their team. Emotional intelligence involves managing the emotion of others. Showing empathy to others will help leaders demonstrate more of that emotional intelligence. Developing interpersonal relationships with others will reinforce the social element of emotional intelligence. As leaders, you will always be in a position where you are responsible for the success of others, which means it is imperative that you learn how to appropriately respond to the various emotions of your team. Giving encouragement and motivation to your team will increase your emotional intelligence and will create a productive atmosphere that will benefit the organization as a whole. As a result, you'll see personal well-being increase, reduced staff turnover, decreased occupational stress, and most of all, increased leadership ability. So as you can see, possessing emotional intelligence as a leader is an important set of skills that will determine the success of the leader, the team, and the organization involved. In summary, emotional intelligence is a necessary trait that every leader must possess in order to be an effective leader. It requires you to become more aware of your own emotions first, then you will be able to manage your own emotions and properly navigate the emotions of others. In the world we live in today, emotional intelligence is significant to the success in leadership, even more so than your IQ. So the question is no longer, what is your IQ? Instead, the more important question becomes, what is your EQ? Thank you.